My name is Lillian. I'm 34 and I live in a minimalist penthouse in downtown Austin. By day, I'm a lead data architect, which means my entire life revolves around logic patterns and finding the signal in the noise. I build systems. I solve complex problems. I make a very good living doing it. My apartment is clean, my code is clean, my life is ordered. Which is why, when my phone lit up at 11:51 p.m., the chaos it brought felt almost violent. It was the family group chat. My hands were stiff from coding. I tapped it open. It was a new message from my mother, Brenda. Mark and I have discussed it. The money you promised for Liam's engagement party isn't enough. We agree that if you can't support this family, then you are no longer a part of it. I read it twice. The words just hung there cold and digital. Not enough. No longer a part. I was still processing the raw transactional cruelty of it when a small red heart icon appeared next to her message. My brother Liam, the golden child, had just liked it. He endorsed the verdict. Have you ever felt like you're the one giving the most, but being valued the least? Let me know your story down in the comments. I didn't cry. I didn't text back. I didn't ask why. I just sat there for 10 seconds. The only sound in the room, the hum of my server rack. The coldness I felt wasn't sadness. It was clarity. It was the feeling a data architect gets when they finally see the flawed logic in a broken system. This wasn't a family. This was a subscription. And I was the one footing the bill. So I turned my chair back to my monitors. The time on my screen read 11:53 p.m. I opened a new browser tab. I logged into my bank. My fingers moved quickly over the keyboard. I navigated to scheduled payments. There it was, family support, monthly. The amount $2,000. It was scheduled to go out in 2 days. I clicked cancel payment. A small pop-up appeared. Are you sure you want to cancel this recurring payment? I didn't hesitate. I clicked confirm. 11:55 p.m. I opened my password manager. I went to my Netflix account. The family plan. I clicked. Manage profiles. Liam. Click. Delete profile. Brenda. Click. Delete profile. Mark. Click. Delete profile. Next. Spotify. Family premium plan. Manage members. Click. Remove Liam. Click. Remove Brenda. Click. Remove Mark. Next. The cloud security package I paid for the one that protected their decaying laptops in their sprawling mortgage to the Hilt Westlake Hills mansion. Manage devices. Click. Revoke access. Device 1. Revoke access. Device 2. Revoke access. Device 3. By 12:03 a.m., exactly 12 minutes after they had digitally disowned me, I had digitally severed every tie. I closed my laptop. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel free. I felt balanced. This wasn't revenge. It was accounting. I poured a glass of water, went to bed, and for the first time in years, I didn't worry about what financial fire I'd have to put out for them in the morning. I woke up at 5 a.m. The sun hadn't even thought about touching the Austin skyline. I didn't wake up from regret. I woke up from a cold, quiet anger that had finally settled in my bones. It wasn't the hot, messy anger of a fight. It was the sterile, focused anger of a system that has discovered a critical error. I made coffee, sat at my desk, and opened my laptop. I didn't check my phone. I didn't need to. I already knew the storm of missed calls and guilt-tripping texts would be waiting. Instead, I opened a specific file. It was an old Excel spreadsheet buried in a password-protected drive. I'd named it family.ledger.xlxs. I called it my scapegoat's ledger. It was a file I started when I was 23. It was a list, a balance sheet of what it cost to be the responsible one. I scrolled through the entries, each one a neat clinical line item of my brother's incompetence and my parents' complicity. There it was, 8 years ago, $45,000. A wire transfer to bail out Liam's first genius idea, a luxury car rental startup that owned no cars. He was 23. I was 26. I just paid off my student loans. That money was my entire savings. I kept scrolling. 6 years ago, $12,000. E-transfer labeled roof repair. I sent it after a panicked call from my mother Brenda about the leaks in their Westlake Hills mansion. Funny, the roof never looked any different afterward. I knew then, but I didn't let myself know that the money just vanished. But those were just the appetizers. The main course was the recurring entry, the one I had just canceled 12 hours prior. Monthly family support, $2,000. Every single month, for 60 consecutive months, 5 years. I did the math in my head, though. I already knew the number. $120,000. $120,000 sent faithfully, because they couldn't keep up appearances in their oversized, crumbling house. Because my father, Mark, had too much pride to downsize. Because my mother insisted that living in Westlake Hills was non-negotiable for the family's image. All while I lived in a one-bedroom apartment for years, saving every dime. I clicked on the cell at the bottom of the column. I hit the sum function. The total came up glowing in a sterile white font. $177,000. That was the price. That was the cost of being part of this family. And at 11:51 last night, they had looked at that number, looked at everything I had poured into their black hole of a life, and told me it wasn't enough. I stared at the number. The anger wasn't hot anymore. It was freezing. It was the clarity of a perfect, undeniable data set. This wasn't a family dispute. This was a default. And I was done being their creditor. Of course. The storm began at 8 a.m. right on schedule. My phone, which I'd left charging on the kitchen island, started to vibrate. It didn't stop. It buzzed across the granite countertop like a trapped insect. I picked it up. 27 notifications. Missed calls from my father, Mark. Missed calls from my mother. And texts. I opened the first one. It was from Liam. Lil, seriously, Mom is crying. Chloe is freaking out. Turn Netflix back on. This is so childish. I read the word childish, and a cold, dry laugh almost escaped me. I, the one who had just been disowned for not funding his party, was being childish. The data was interesting. Before I could archive the message, my phone rang again. This time the screen flashed with Brenda, my mother. I took a sip of my black coffee. I let it ring twice, then I answered. I didn't say anything. Lillian. Her voice wasn't screaming. It was worse. It was that high, thin, artificial wail she used when she needed to manufacture a crisis. Lillian, what did you do? You've ruined everything. I just listened. Liam's engagement party is in 2 weeks. Chloe's family is expecting. Do you know how this makes us look? You are so selfish. You're selfish, you're ruining this for your brother. After everything we've done for you, you pull this. You just need to add $5,000. That's all we asked. You are. And as her voice spiraled that familiar, pull the old reflex to fix it, tugged at my gut. The urge to make the noise stop. To be the responsible one. But as I listened to her, something else clicked into place. All my life, I've been the cleaner, the fixer, the emotional flood wall. Saving them meant robbing them of the only lesson that could ever make them change consequences. My silence this time wasn't weakness. It was a decision. Saving them again wouldn't be kindness. It would be enabling. I was done enabling. My job wasn't to stop them from hitting the ground. My job was to finally let go of the rope. I realized in that moment that this was the brutal, necessary courage of non-rescue. And I don't know what you expect, Lillian, but you will call me back and fix this. I brought the phone back to my face. No, I said. And I hung up. I blocked her number, then Mark's, then Liam's. An hour later, my friend Maya texted me a screenshot. My mother had already taken the fight public. A new Instagram post. A soft-focus old photo of her and Liam heads close together. The caption was pure Brenda. It's so sad when children forget who raised them. Gratitude is a lost art. I looked at the post then, at my scapegoat's ledger, still open on my laptop. I took my coffee, went to my desk, and started a new spreadsheet. This one I titled Audit. It was time to stop being their creditor and start being their auditor. I didn't call a lawyer, not yet. Lawyers are for problems you already understand. I had a feeling this was a data problem and I needed an expert. I called Maya. Maya and I met in a graduate-level data science seminar. She's one of the few people I know whose brain moves faster than mine. Now she works as a forensic accountant. She finds numbers that people think are buried forever. She's my best friend. She picked up on the second ring. Lillian, it's 9 a.m. This is either a 5-alarm fire or you finally found a bug you can't fix. I smiled just a little. It's a fire, Maya. I explained it to her. Not the emotion, just the data. The 11:51 p.m. text. The 12:03 a.m. digital cutoff. The scapegoat's ledger totaling $177,000. She was silent for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was all business. Okay, you've contained the immediate bleed. What do you need from me? I've cut off all voluntary payments, I said, pacing my living room, the city now bright beneath me. But I'm worried about the involuntary ones. I'm worried about what I've missed. For 5 years, I've been sending them $2,000 a month, no questions asked, trusting it was for the house. Now, I'm not so sure. You think you're exposed somewhere else, she said. It wasn't a question. I think their system is sloppy, I replied. And sloppy systems have back doors. I need you to run a full audit on me, Maya. Full credit report all 3 bureaus. Check public records, property filings, UCC liens. I want to know if my name is attached to anything I don't know about. I need to know my full liability. Maya let out a slow whistle. Lil, this is a lot. This isn't just family drama anymore. This is discovery. I know, I said. I'm not calling as your friend. I'm hiring you as my auditor. I'll pay your full rate. Don't be stupid. You're not paying me, she said, and I could hear her typing already. Okay. I'll need your social and a few other things to get started. I can probably have a preliminary report by... Give me 2 days. Thank you, Maya. Don't thank me yet, she said, her voice turning serious. I've seen this before. People who act this entitled. They're usually hiding a much bigger fire than the one they're blowing smoke about. She hung up. I felt a knot of anxiety tighten in my stomach, but it was overshadowed by a cold sense of relief. The audit had begun, and whatever the data showed, I knew I could handle it. Maya called me exactly 48 hours later. It was Friday afternoon. I was in the middle of a code review when her name flashed on my screen. I stepped onto my balcony, the warm Austin air hitting my face, and answered, Hey, are you sitting down, Lillian? Her voice wasn't friendly. It was the voice she used at work. The one she used when she'd found something. My stomach went hollow. I am now. What did you find? There was a pause, the sound of her taking a breath. Okay, so your scapegoat's ledger for $177,000, it's wrong. I gripped the railing. Wrong how? It's incomplete, she said, her voice flat. Your math is right, but your data set is missing the biggest liability. They don't just owe you 177,000 lil. What do they owe me? $350,000. I just stared at the reflection in the glass, unable to process the number. What, Maya, that's impossible. I don't have that kind of money. I never had it. You don't, she said, but you guaranteed it. What are you talking about? 6 months ago, Maya said, and I could hear her clicking, a small business administration loan, an SBA loan, was approved for $350,000. The recipient was Liam Innovations, LLC. A bitter laugh escaped me. Liam Innovations, of course. So he failed, and now they want me to. Lillian, shut up and listen. Maya cut in, her voice sharp. You're not getting it. He got the loan. The problem isn't that he needs the money. The problem is how he got it. The bank required a personal guarantor. Someone with perfect credit and a high 6-figure income. Someone like you. The air left my lungs. No, I never. Yes, Lillian M. Davis, your social security number, your address history, your forged digital signature. They didn't just ask you for money, Lil. They stole your entire identity to get it. I leaned my forehead against the cool glass. This wasn't family drama anymore. This was a federal crime. And it gets worse, Maya said, her voice dropping. How can it possibly get worse? I was wondering why, she said. $350K is a lot, even for a narcissistic golden boy. So I looked at your mother's accounts, the ones you were paying into. I ran a trace on the outgoing funds from that roof repair money you sent. It wasn't just vanishing, it was being moved. Wire transfers, Lillian. Large ones. To 3 different online casinos registered in Costa Rica. My blood went cold. The engagement party, the startup, the house, it was all noise. It wasn't for Liam's startup, I whispered, the pieces clicking into place, with horrifying precision. No, Maya said. It was to cover Brenda's gambling debts. They ruined your credit and committed identity theft, to pay a bookie. I closed my eyes. All the chaos, all the screaming, all the gaslighting of the last few days. It wasn't the behavior of a family angry about Netflix. It was the panic of cornered criminals. And they had just lost their only remaining line of credit. Lillian, are you there? I opened my eyes. The view from my penthouse had never looked sharper. The anger was gone. In its place was something cold, hard, and perfectly clear. I'm here, Maya, I said, my voice steady. Send me the file. Everything you have. It's time to schedule a meeting. I summoned them. Not to their house, not to a neutral coffee shop. I summoned them to my territory. The next day, I booked the glass-walled conference room on the top floor of my building. It's usually reserved for C-suite executives, a place with a 30-foot marble table and a view that makes all of Austin look like a map. They arrived together. Brenda, Mark, and Liam. They walked in, not with shame, but with attitude. They were a united front, ready to gaslight, ready to bully, ready to put me back in my scapegoat box. They thought this was another negotiation. They thought they were here to yell at me until I turned the Netflix back on. I was standing at the head of the table. Maya was beside me holding a tablet. "What is this, Lillian, my mother?" Brenda snapped, her arms crossed. "A little dramatic, isn't it? This room." "Please sit down," I said. My voice was calm, and that seemed to bother them more than any amount of yelling. They sat huffing, looking like children called to the principal's office. Liam was already on his phone, looking bored. I didn't sit. I picked up a remote. "Thank you for coming. I've called this meeting because my auditor has found some significant discrepancies in my finances, and I need your clarification. I've prepared a presentation." Liam snorted. "A presentation." I hit the first button. The projector lit up and a document filled the wall. "Slide 1, I said. "This is a small business administration loan application for $350,000. It was approved 6 months ago for an entity called Liam Innovations, LLC. Liam's face went white. My father, Mark, just stared at his hands. "I wasn't familiar with this loan," I continued, which is strange because this is my signature on the guarantor line. "My name, my social security number." Now Lillian Brenda started her voice, rising. "Your brother needed help." "Slide 2, I said, cutting her off. I clicked the remote. A new screen appeared. It was a digital forensics report. As a data architect, I get curious about digital signatures. This is the IP address log for the device that signed this loan application, and as you can see, it resolves to a single physical address, your house, in Westlake Hills. There was a dead, sharp silence. Liam looked like he was going to be sick. I don't understand, Liam," stammered, looking at Brenda. "Mom, Brenda," I said, my voice like ice. "Perhaps you can clarify, because I thought this was about Liam too, but my auditor found this." Slide 3. I clicked again. The final slide. It wasn't a spreadsheet, it was a series of bank statements. My mother's account, and on it a devastating series of outgoing wire transfers. "These are the bank records for the account you told me was for roof repairs," I said. "But the funds aren't going to a contractor. They're going to 3 different online casinos, all registered in Costa Rica." The room broke. Mark let out a sound, a low, guttural moan, and slumped over in his chair, covering his face. Liam just shook his head, whispering, "No, no, no." Brenda, however, was a different animal. Her face for 1 second showed the cold, hard terror of a cornered animal. Then she exploded. She leaped from her chair, ran around the table, and grabbed my arm. Her nails dug into my skin. "You have to help us," she shrieked, her face inches from mine. "You don't understand. They'll take me away. You have to fix this, Lillian. Do something. For your brother, for your family." I stood there, letting her wail, letting her grip my arm. I looked at the hand she was holding, then back at her face. All the years of manipulation, the gaslighting, the theft, it all came down to this. One final desperate attempt to make me their shield. I slowly, deliberately unhooked her fingers from my arm. I reached into my blazer pocket and pulled out a small white business card. I didn't hand it to her. I placed it on the marble table in front of her. "I can't help you, Brenda," I said, my voice barely a whisper, but it cut through the room. "I've already reported the identity theft to the bank and to the authorities. This is the card for my lawyer. He will be handling all future correspondence. The audit is complete." She stared at the card and then at me, her eyes finally understanding. I wasn't the scapegoat. I wasn't the fixer. I was the auditor, and I had just closed the books. The aftermath was fast, and it was brutal. Faced with federal bank fraud and identity theft charges, they didn't have a choice. The bank, furious, wanted its money back. The family settled. The sprawling mansion in Westlake Hills, the one they'd committed crimes to keep, was sold in a fire sale to pay back the $350,000 loan. My name was cleared of the debt. My parents and Liam moved into a small rented apartment. A week after the house was sold, I got a package. It was from my Aunt Judith, the only one who ever saw me. Inside was a small velvet box. I opened it. It was my grandmother's college graduation ring. The one I'd always loved. The note just said, "This always belonged to you." That night I sat at my desk. I opened the family ledger. 2TS-LSX file one last time. I looked at the glowing number at the bottom, $177,000. The money I'd never get back. The price I'd paid for my own liberation. I highlighted the entire spreadsheet, every entry, every dollar. And then I hit delete. I didn't keep a single dime from the house sale. I didn't need it. I used the small amount that was left after the debts were cleared, and I went to the bank. I established the Grandmother Davis Scholarship Fund, an endowment for women from low-income backgrounds at the University of Texas, specifically for those pursuing degrees in data science and technology. I realized the best revenge isn't destruction. It's building. They tried to use my name to fund their chaos. I used theirs to fund a future they can't ever touch. This story is for anyone who has ever been underestimated. Your value isn't determined by those who can't see it. If you believe in the power of rebuilding, share this story.